What if the most important character in all of One Piece never actually died? What if Joy Boy is not a person from 800 years ago, but something far more complicated? Something still alive inside the world right now. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you are going to see Joy Boy in a way you never have before. Welcome to One Piece Uncovered. Most fans hear the name Joy Boy and immediately picture some ancient hero who lived during the Void Century, made a promise he could not keep, and left an apology letter on the Poneglyph in Fishman Island. That is the surface-level reading. And if Eiichiro Oda was the kind of writer who operated on the surface level, that would be fine. But Oda is not that kind of writer. Every major reveal in One Piece has layers underneath it. Roger discovering the truth at Laugh Tale, the will of D, the connection between the ancient weapons and the current era. These are not random plot threads. Oda plants seeds years, sometimes decades, before the payoff. And Joy Boy is one of the oldest seeds in the entire story. So let us start from the beginning and rebuild everything we actually know. Joy Boy existed during the Void Century, roughly 800 years before the current storyline. He made a promise to the people of Fishman Island, specifically to the mermaid princess of that era, and he broke it. He left behind an apology on the Sea Forest Poneglyph, which Robin was able to read during the Straw Hat's visit to Fishman Island. We also know that Joy Boy attempted to use Noah, the massive ship that sits above Fishman Island, for some significant purpose. Whatever that purpose was, he could not complete it. Then there is the Road Poneglyph system and the treasure known as the One Piece, which Roger and his crew discovered at Laugh Tale. When Roger read the full history, he laughed. He said they were born in the wrong era, and he specifically said that Joy Boy was one hell of a guy. That is a very human thing to say about someone who supposedly lived 800 years earlier. This is where things start to get interesting. One of the most widely debated theories in the community is that Joy Boy is not a single individual. It is a role. A title passed down across generations, tied to a specific purpose or ideology rather than a bloodline. Think about how Oda handles legacy in this story. The will of D is not about one person, it is about a group of people across time who carry a spiritual inheritance. Kozuki Oden was a man, but he was also a symbol. The Pirate King was a title Roger held, but it carried meaning beyond the man himself. What if Joy Boy works the same way? The person who fulfills the ancient promise, who raises the Noah, who liberates Fishman Island, who brings the people of the sea to the surface. That person becomes the new Joy Boy. They inherit the title by completing what the original could not. And before you say that sounds too simple, consider this. After Luffy awakens his Devil Fruit on Egghead Island and fully embodies the sun god Nika, Zunesha, the ancient elephant who has walked the seas for centuries, says something that should have stopped every fan in their tracks. Zunesha says that Joy Boy has returned. Not someone like Joy Boy. Not a new Joy Boy. Joy Boy has returned. That word choice matters enormously. It implies continuity. It implies that what is inside Luffy is the same presence that existed 800 years ago. Which brings us to the next theory. Here is where Oda has been hiding the answer in plain sight for years. The Gomu Gomu no Mi, which everyone believed to be a simple rubber fruit, was revealed to be the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. The sun god Nika is described as a warrior who made people smile and fought for freedom. The fruit itself is said to be the most ridiculous and free power in existence because its users body fights like they are having fun. The fruit adapts to its user's imagination. Now think about Joy Boy's personality as described across the story. He was clearly someone with enormous heart, enormous ambition, and an inability to complete serious promises without tragic consequences. He carried joy. Literally, it is in his name. What if the Nika fruit does not just grant powers? What if it carries a soul? What if Joy Boy's will, his consciousness, or at least his spiritual intention, is stored within the fruit itself, waiting to be reborn in someone who embodies those same ideals? This would explain why the world government hunted this fruit for 800 years without eating it. They were not afraid of rubber powers. They were afraid of Joy Boy coming back. And it would explain why Imu, the ruler sitting on the empty throne, has such a deeply personal reaction to the news of Luffy's awakening. Imu does not see Luffy as just a dangerous pirate. Imu sees the return of something they thought they had buried. Stay with us here, because what we are about to get into changes how you see the entire endgame of One Piece. This next theory has been gaining serious traction since the Egghead Island arc. Imu has been shown with a massive straw hat locked away in the Pangaea castle. The same style of straw hat that Shanks gave to Luffy. The same straw hat that has appeared in flashbacks tied to Laugh-Tale and Roger's era. What if that straw hat belonged to Joy Boy? If Imu has kept Joy Boy's straw hat for 800 years, that is not just a trophy. That is something personal. People do not preserve objects from enemies they completely destroyed. They preserve them when those enemies meant something, when the conflict between them was not just political, but deeply human. Some fans theorize that Imu and Joy Boy were allies who fell apart. Others believe they were opposites from the start. One representing freedom and joy, the other representing order and control. The world government's entire structure, with its empty throne symbolizing that no one rules alone, may have been built specifically to prevent any single person from ever again having the kind of influence Joy Boy had. In other words, the world government was not built to govern the world. It was built to make sure Joy Boy, or anyone like him, could never rise again. And they failed. When Luffy achieved his awakening during the fight with Kaido, his hair turned white and his eyes changed. He became something that even Kaido recognized as different from any opponent he had ever faced. Kaido, a man who has fought legends his entire life, looked at Luffy and saw something ancient. The Nika Fruit's awakened state does not just make Luffy stronger. It makes the world around him rubberized and responsive to his will. The environment bends to his imagination. He moves like someone who has completely abandoned the logic of how fighting is supposed to work. That is what Joy Boy's power looked like. And whatever Joy Boy was trying to accomplish 800 years ago required that exact kind of freedom. The kind that cannot be calculated, cannot be predicted, and cannot be stopped by any conventional force. The Gorosei refer to Nika as an ancient god. The world government has spent centuries trying to erase from history. They did not erase the god. They just erased the name. So who or what is Joy Boy? Based on everything Oda has built across the entire series, the most complete answer looks like this. Joy Boy was a real person who lived 800 years ago. He carried the Nika Fruit, or its equivalent power. He fought against what would become the world government, and lost, not because he was too weak, but because the era was not ready. He made promises that required help from the entire world, and the world was not yet in a position to answer. He did not disappear. His will survived inside the fruit. And the fruit found Luffy, a person so perfectly aligned with Joy Boy's original spirit that even ancient beings like Zunesha could feel the resonance. Luffy is not Joy Boy reincarnated. Luffy is Luffy. But he is carrying something forward that Joy Boy started, and the story of One Piece is the story of that promise finally being kept. Oda has spent over 25 years building toward a moment the entire world of One Piece has been waiting for without even knowing it. Every poneglyph, every ancient weapon, every D initial, every secret Imu has hidden. All of it points back to one man who lived 800 years ago, and one promise that outlasted everything the world threw at it. The real question is not who Joy Boy was. The real question is what happens when the promise is finally fulfilled. What does the world look like after that? Leave your answer in the comments. We want to know what you think Joy Boy's original promise actually was, and whether Luffy is going to complete it before the end of the series. If this video made you think, hit that like button and subscribe to One Piece Uncovered. We go deeper than anyone else, every single time.